Hi, everybody. Today is Tuesday, October 13th, and we are going to look at another poem today called Monsters by Dorothea Lasky. Just a heads up, if you are one of my virtual students and you want help with an assignment or want to meet about your grades or anything like that, you can always send me an email or message and let me know. And we can either meet on Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday during Core Connections. Or we can also meet on Tuesday and Thursday at 9:15. So that's your asynchronous day, and we can meet during your class period. Okay? So anyway, if you ever want extra help or want to meet with me, or even if you want to every week, let me know. Okay? And I'm totally cool with that. Anyway, so I'm going to go over your assignment for this week or for today. And at the end, I think I'll probably briefly touch on the formatives again and how to read the most current one. Okay, remember your revisions for your formatives are due Tuesday, which is today, by 8 p.m. Okay, please revise your formatives. The average score was a 2, and this is 30% of your grade. So if you have a C in my class and got a 2 on both of the formatives, but then you raise up your grade to a 3 for both of the formatives, that can actually bring your grade up from a C to a B. Okay, just raising each one by a point. So these are like hefty duty grades that you need to watch and take care of. Okay, anyway, enough about that. If you want to stay after I go over the instructions, please do. Okay, and I will kind of review how to read the rubric that I posted for the last formative. Okay, and I can remind you where to find everything and stuff like that. So anyway, so your standard RL 8.2. Determine themes of a text and analyze how they are developed through relationships of characters, setting, and plot, citing textual evidence, paraphrasing, or summarizing. And if you recall, the very first standard we looked at was RL 8.2. And then we kind of looked at our I 8.2, looking at informative text. And that's what your formative was over. So now, and then we went on and we looked at RI 8.6, and that one was the one about perspectives. Now we're backtracking and we're going back to RL 8.2 for literature. Okay? So anyway, you've already seen this before, and we're revisiting it to see how you do in more uh, to give more thorough evaluations on how comfortable you feel with this standard in terms of literature text. Okay, so anyway, your I can statement. I can identify evidence that develops the character, setting, and plot that relate to the theme of a poem. So, again, today we're going to be looking at character, setting, plot, and then we're going to relate that to the theme. And we're going to add conflict in here too. Okay? So, here's the directions. You see our cute little picture of furry, fuzzy, happy little monsters here. Okay, so here's the directions. Please make sure you write in complete sentences with capitalization and punctuation, and please spell and grammar check. This is so important to get used to doing. It's really going to help you in high school when you go on to college or technical school, or your career, or whatever you do in the future. You need to be able to write intelligently. Okay? Anyway, and so please make sure you do that whenever you write the answers. So, step 1, as we read the poem Monsters by Dorothea Lasky, please complete the chart on page 2. The first one is done for you. Here is a short video reading of the poem. So you can go here and we will play that in a second, and it's a cool little video of the poem, okay? So you're going to skip over these questions and you're going to do the chart first. And I have this on the second page because it fits just exactly on here. Okay, so I wanted to give the whole page for the chart. But here's the poem on the left, Monsters. And it's broken up by lines. Okay, and that's typically how poems are broken. So you got line 1 all the way down to 15. Okay, so when you read this line, this is a world where there are monsters. And you go over here. So I need you to decide, does this line here give descriptions about the character, setting, and or plot? And you put that here. Okay, so you're labeling what kind of descriptions are given in each line. So in this line, I decided this description is describing the setting. And so the next thing I want to do, now that I know that I think it's setting, is I'm going to identify the key words that told me the line was describing the setting. Okay, so for me, it said, this is a world. So a world here is my key word that told me this was about setting. So I put it over here in the third column. Okay, world is one of the key words that clued me in. This is about setting. This is a world where there are monsters. So I know in this setting there are monsters in it. And that's part of the setting. So that's also a keyword. And so I went over here and I added monsters as a keyword. So again, the first line here, this is a world where there are monsters. I decided describes the setting, which I put in the second column. And then I decided the key words that told me this was a description about the setting was world and monsters. Okay? So that's how I want you to fill in this chart. And again, there's 15 lines. You have 14 left to do. So go ahead and watch the video first because it's a pretty cool video. And we'll watch that now. And then I want you to come back here and read it to yourself and go line by line and figure out what type of description you're getting. Okay? So when you're finished with the chart, you'll be ready to answer these 5 questions. So now you're on to step 2. After we have read the poem and you have completed the chart, and let's add the chart on page 2, come back to page 1 and answer the questions. Okay? So you're going to write 1 to 2 complete sentences. So I'm not asking for a whole lot here, okay? But I do want you to make it a nice, solid sentence or two where you capitalize and use periods and you write a complete sentence. Okay, so a really strong summary sentence. And for the first one, I want you to summarize the character or characters of this poem. So, is this going to include the narrator, the person who is speaking, as well as another character within the poem? Or is it just one? Okay, so you decide. Number 2, again, write 1 to 2 complete sentences and in your own words, summarize the setting of the poem. Okay, for the third one, you're going to summarize the plot of the poem. The fourth one, you're going to summarize the conflict of the poem. And the fifth one, you are going to summarize the theme of the poem. Now remember, the character of a poem is who it's about, okay? Or the people or things that are personified or given human characteristics. Those type of things. Those are the characters in the poem, okay? The setting is where it's taking place, what kind of environment it is, what is the place like that you're reading about. Okay, the plot are the events of the poem and also action words. Okay, so when you see an action word, then you can use that as evidence for the plot. Okay, it pushes the story along. Now, conflict, remember, that is the big problem that happens in the story. So, even with poems, there typically has to be, poems are a little bit more flexible with this, but usually with the story, there is a conflict, okay? There has to be in the story. And a lot of times there is in the poem. I would say probably the majority of the time, even though it might be less obvious that there is a conflict, okay? But usually there's at least an internal type of conflict. So anyway, figure out what you think the problem is or the conflict in this poem, and you're good to go. Last but not least, the theme is also the message or the lesson that the author is trying to give the reader. Okay? So you should be pros at this, or at least getting there. If you're not quite comfortable with this, we're going to keep doing this type of stuff to get you comfortable. Okay? But I thought you might appreciate getting a break from the highlighting and getting a break from inserting comments. Okay? Because I know that you all have been doing that a lot. So this is a nice little snazzy way to kind of give you a break from it. Okay? So just remember on the chart again, you're identifying what each line is describing, whether it's the character, setting, plot, or multiple one of these. Okay? Because one line might be describing a character and the setting. I mean, you'll just have to read them to see. Or it might just be describing one thing. And then in the last column here, you want to add the keywords that tell you what the line is describing. So this is also a good exercise, identifying the keywords that'll help you get better at highlighting. Okay, so these, for example, if I was highlighting this, I would only highlight world and monsters because those are my keywords. Okay, so this is a good exercise for you, and I hope you like it. So, and that's it. That's it for today. Okay, and I hope that you rock this out. Now, I'm not going to give you an additional exit slip, I don't think, this time around. So, if you haven't finished your assignment from Monday, why don't you take a few minutes to finish that up? Okay, and that'll be kind of, because there's an exit slip on that one that I want you to be sure that you answer. So that'll kind of be your exit slip for both of these assignments. Okay, so let's go ahead and watch the video together because I love this video. It's really cool. And then, yeah, here we go.
This is a world where there are monsters. There are monsters everywhere. Raccoons and skunks. There are possums outside. There are monsters in my bed. There is one monster. He is my little one. I talk to my little monster. I give my little monster some bacon, but that does not satisfy him. I tell him, shh, don't growl, little monster. And he growls. Oh boy, does he growl. And he wants something from me. He wants my soul. And Finally giving in, I give him my gleaming soul. And as he eats my gleaming soul, I am one with him, and stare out of his eye pits, and I see nothing but white. And then I see nothing but fog, and the white I had seen before was nothing but fog. And there's nothing but fog out of the eyes of monsters.
Okay, so it was short and sweet, nothing too long, only about a minute and a half. So, and it wasn't the best sound. Sorry, it wasn't the best sound quality, but I thought the video was really cool, and it kind of gives you a new perspective of the poem because the poem is kind of abstract. Okay, so like the boogeyman that we read yesterday had more concrete imagery to go along with it, which means that you can visualize it a little bit more and know exactly what's happening. This poem, Monsters, is a little more abstract. So you have to figure out what she's talking about, okay? So anyway, but I'm going to let you come to your own conclusions, okay? But that's about it. And so if you have looked, so I'm going to go ahead and the last thing to look at, good luck with this assignment, by the way. Let me know if you have any questions. But what we're going to look at before I let you go here is your formative stuff again, okay? And so the top thing here, as always, is important info. When you scroll down here to Tuesday, where it says due Tuesday by 8 p.m., you see a number 2. So this is the second formative we took. Okay, when you go down one more topic to the next due Tuesday, this is the first formative that we took. Okay, so you got 2 different ones you need to revise by 8 p.m. Anyway, so the very first thing that you'll see is your graded rubric. The next thing you're going to see is the formative you took, okay? So when you bop down here, the first thing will be your graded rubric. The second thing will be your formative. So some of you have sent me emails that you were confused how to read the graded rubric for the second formative you took. So we're going to look at that right now. Now, if you haven't taken your formative at all, they're right here for you, the same spot, okay? So just come here, take the formative that you're missing, and then I'll grade it and give you back a rubric, and I'll give you a day to revise it, okay? So anyway, so here is an example of the graded rubric for the RI 8.6 formative that you took. All right. So you'll notice I have yellow highlights on it. That is because that is what this student needs to revise. Okay. So did they attempt highlights? Yes, they did. So you're good to go here. Okay. Second little section here. Did they attempted 4 comments? I put no. That means the student did not attempt 4 comments and they automatically got a 2. Okay? So if you didn't highlight or you didn't insert 4 comments, you automatically have a 2. Even if you have like one or two highlights, that is not highlighting the article. Okay, you need to pick out the 5 W's. So, who's the article about? Where is it happening? Where is it happening? Okay, so that includes the time period, the location of the high school, all that good stuff. Then what happened and why did it happen? And the what and why you should be highlighting throughout the entire article. Okay? So hopefully that explained the top 2 parts. Now it's really important you guys start highlighting and commenting when you're told to in assignments, okay? Because that's following directions. And it's going to get to the point I can't have you just going back and adding in highlights and comments that you should have done in the first place. You know what I mean? Especially for formative assessments. I mean, these are tests. So, but where it was your first two tests, I wanted to give you the ability to do this. Okay. So just be sure that we have our volume on maybe when Miss Chapman's going over the directions so that you know what I expect. Okay. Anyway, here's this section here. Okay, so it says, did this student have accurate highlights? And there were 6. And if you remember, you had a chart to do, and where you had to highlight 2 of the answers in yellow and 4 of the answers in blue. So there are 6 of them. Now here I wrote 4. That means that this student got 4 highlights correct out of 6. So you have to figure out which 2 highlights you got incorrect and fix them. Okay? So if you guess wrong and then you only have 2 correct, I'm not going to take points away. Okay? But you just won't earn points back here. But I want you to try to figure out which ones you got wrong, okay, and fix them. Now on here, I actually went through and I tweaked this. So I did have only number 5. But instead, I went back and added only number 5 is correct. And then I have number 2 is incorrect. So this is the way that it'll look on your rubrics now. I went back and edited it. So only number 5 is correct. Number 2 is incorrect. So obviously that means that you need to come over here and fix number 2 if this was your rubric, okay? What's important to remember though is this top section here where it says question 1 and 3. Did you answer these correctly? These are the standards, okay? So the thing I just now put in green, those are the standard questions. You have to get 1 correct and you have to get question 3 correct in order to get a score above a 2 on the formative, okay? Because it's a standard-based test. So you have to get these 2 correct. Take your time, slow down, and really try your best to figure out which one of these are the correct answer, what the correct answer is for 1 and for 3. But this student here actually got those correct. Yay! Unfortunately, they still got a 2 because they didn't insert comments and they missed a multiple choice question. Okay, and they missed a couple of these too. So down here, the very bottom is the score. They got a 2. However, if you notice for part D, I said that I waived the objective summary for this test. And what that means is that if you did it, that's great. But a lot of you didn't, which is not great, okay, because you should have where you were virtual. But the kids that I had in person, this test ended up taking them so long that I ended up waiving the objective summary for them. So if they didn't have time to get to it, then I'm not holding it against them. So I'm doing that for you guys too. So if you didn't get to the objective summary, I'm not taking off points. And if you didn't write that good of an objective summary or it had issues, I'm still not taking off points. Okay? So that's kind of like your little freebie for this test. All right, so I hope that makes sense. I don't know if the other rubric posted is a little more clear. Hang on just a second. Okay, so I went ahead and pulled up the rubric for the first formative you did. This one was over RI 8.2, okay? So anyway, you'll notice this is like the first column's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? And I highlighted where you fell for each one. Okay? And then at the bottom, I give you your grand total of where you fell. So what's important to know about this one is if you did not highlight the key details, or you barely did, or if you didn't leave any comments, okay, you could not score higher than a 2. Same thing as the other formative. Also, if you got either question 1 or question 3 incorrect, just like in the other formative, and here it is here, I put it in green. If you did not get question 1 or question 3 correct, then you also could not get higher than a 2. Okay, so those were like automatic things that you have to revise if you want to try and raise your grade above a 2. So, and some of these are kind of split, okay? So, and it was kind of, so most of you got between a 1 and 3 on the highlighting and comments. When you go down to the second little category here, we are talking about the chart that you had to do. And I said, I don't know how many times that you had to pick 4 details, not 7, but 4 details to tell me which ones are the most important ones, because 2 of the pieces of evidence were not important at all. Okay, they were not good supporting details. But probably the majority of students went in and wrote about every piece of evidence, all 7 pieces. Okay, or you wrote about 5 instead of 4. It was really kind of weird if you did that. But anyway, and I mean, I even held up my fingers trying to show you on the screen how many to write about. And I almost kind of wondered if you all had me muted. I don't really know, but that's just another case where you really got to follow directions carefully, okay? So slow down and be sure you read the directions and you listen to them, okay? Because I want you to be successful in here because you got this. And almost all of my students would have scored either a 4 or 5, except you made silly mistakes, okay? Just mainly not following directions, and I don't like that. I want you to get the grade that shows that you've mastered the standards, okay? But it is really important that you highlight and give comments, especially where you're virtual, so that I know that you're not cheating, not that I'm saying you would, but like that is how I know that this is your work, because you're showing your work and your thoughts and stuff like that. Okay, it keeps us all honest, and it's good for you to help you figure out the standard questions that you have to answer. It helps you comprehend it, okay? So anyway, I just wanted to be clear on why it's important you do that stuff, okay? But if you notice over here, if I added this on in the first column, in the second part where it says did not identify the 4 most important pieces of the evidence, I may have said bolded 5 and 1 is unimportant, or that might not be there and it just has the message. If you have this message here, that means that you did not pick out the 4 most important pieces of details. Okay? If you picked out 4, but one of them was not important, then you scored over here where it says 3 out of 4, that I just put in red. Okay? Then over here in red, that's where you scored if you did that. Okay. Anyway, the third little section is talking about what you got right and what you got wrong. Okay. So you're going to have to figure out on this one if you got the first question right or the third question right, and if you need to edit edit it, okay? Revise it. If you need help, if you want me to look at, I would like for you to try to figure out, if I told you that you either got 1 or you got 3 incorrect, but not both of them incorrect, and you want me to tell you which one you did get incorrect on this formative, then let me know. Okay, because I'll let you know on the other one, but I didn't think to on this. Okay. And so if you want me to specify which one of the standard questions you need to look at, let me know and I'll send you an email as soon as I get your message. Okay. So anyway, last but not least is the objective summary. So if you notice, it's not on here, but right here in the middle of this highlighted area, and I'm going to change this to purple so you can see it real well. Well, now it's dark, but over here, it says the first sentence should be the central idea. Okay? So keep that in mind. So if your first sentence isn't the central idea that you answered in one of the questions, then you need to spoof that up, okay? Where this stuff is in the number 3 category, that means you were missing important details also. Okay, so if you don't have a 4 or 5 on your objective summary, then there's something missing out of it. If you got a 2 or 1 on your objective summary, then you were like totally off base, or you only wrote 1 sentence, which of course you had to write 4 to 5 sentences. So, if you're trying to raise your grade, write more, okay? Last but not least, you see this sucker here, did not spell check or grammar check. If I was trying to decide if you should get a 2 or 3 on something, and I really was, it was a struggle to decide, I probably dropped it down to a 2 if you didn't spell check and grammar check. Okay, that affects readability. And if I'm struggling to decipher what you read, then that's a major issue. Okay, and especially since we went over expectations and you knew you had to do this. And especially if I'm saying it after every assignment, that means it's extremely important for my class. Okay? All right. And if you're on the cusp of like 4 and 5 and you don't have any spelling errors at all, or even a 3 and a 4, that will bump you up. If I know that you have taken the time to write properly and you're being cognizant of how you're writing and coming across and you're trying your best, that's going to bump up your grade. Okay? So this is something that can really help you out, and not just in my class, but long term. Okay? Anyway, I've talked enough. I'm sure that you're ready to get ready on your assignment. So I hope you do well, and let me know if you have questions. See ya.